to dig into some other highlights that we found in the report, the next really really interesting bit of insight that we found was around the approach to incident investigation. So we can see you've got the industry benchmark and you've got the utilities benchmark there as well, which unfortunately is sitting predominantly in that red zone. So if we unpack those particular items a little bit more, you've got incident investigations are conducted to identify all causes, example tools and systems, rather than only blame specific people for doing something wrong. Incident investigations are done in a way that is fair to all people involved. And the purpose of incident investigations is to help employees learn and grow from their mistakes. So generally, negative perceptions around those types of comments. So Kenan, I'm curious to hear from your perspective. What is this poor perception of incident investigation based on, and what can we do to start to address it?
Look, I think just speaking from our experience at Unitywater, so one of the things is, if you look at the model you guys have put up with Sentis, Anthony, we have predominantly focused very much on the practices and the environment, right? And didn't necessarily, have an active, view to try and influence the people side for, a number of years. So we would have thought that we've invested quite a bit in having, we have good processes to, follow through on incidents, do debriefings, capture the information and record it. So what we weren't seeing out of that is potentially the change that we would like to influence, or work practices that would sort of go back to, what they were before. And particularly people, potentially being complacent, rushing, that sort of stuff. So for us, I think it's looking at incidents in the wider cultural context of the organisation. So you can have all the systems and processes to gather everything, but it's actually how you conduct those reviews and what do you do with that information. And so we did have a bit of an approach for a number of years early on in the organisation of, probably, the word probably punishing is probably a bit apt, people who did the wrong thing. Right, so in our eyes. So therefore there was this negative perception that was created about safety incident investigation. So people would say, look, I don't want to really tell everyone what happened because I don't want to admit that anything went wrong because I've seen what happened to Joe when he did that, right? So that started the organisation off potentially on the wrong sort of course initially. So what we've found is, and that then breeds, you don't get all the information you need, people don't have confidence in the outcomes, and you're missing opportunities to, identify other risks and take them out of the organisation. So we have found that we've had to really work hard on the cultural side of the business about how we engage with our team when things go wrong, and really working on that, that fear and blame side of it. So for me, you can have the slickest process, but you're not going to get the real identification of risks or practices that need to change or behaviours if people are fearful of the outcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your experience and your insights. And I think many other utilities are experiencing some similar challenges. I mean, it's just, Clint, you probably get to canvass a number of different operational sites with Veolia. As running contracting crews, coming in and looking after things from that lens, what's your experience of incident investigations from a contractor perspective?
It's a whole bunch of different scenarios play out in this situation. So generally what you'll find is in some organisations there's the trick or the trip that someone could follow around a quick win with a board to say contractor's fault. Right. Incident's done, we've wrapped it up, we've gone and sacked the contractor or whatever, move on really quickly. Which obviously brings in the underlying issue of you never find the root cause, of the underlying concern. So what we've found work really well is when we go side by side with our customers, with the utilities operators, joined at the hip and work through the investigation together to get to the root cause and set out the terms of reference up front. So it's very, very clear that it's not about finding the person that went wrong. We need to find out where it went wrong within either the contract structure, the organisational structure, because generally that's where it has failed, and then have the commitment from both organisations to come together to make sure that we learn the same, because generally our customers have their workforce that are exposed to exactly the same risks, and we want to have that learning partnership with our customers, just as they would be exposed to incidents and have them share them with us. as we sort of maybe come into a network that we're not as experienced in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, great. Interesting. Well, yes. Andrew, anything to add to that?
I think communication is really critical. So you might find what the root cause is, but I think if you don't communicate it effectively, then as we all know, the actual root cause will be made up by the workforce, and that's probably not necessarily helpful. So I think in putting from a contractor position, I think the businesses need to take accountability for contractors and treat them no differently to their employees. And that communication in that instance is also incredibly important. So if you don't communicate those findings, which you do have as a consequence of your investigations, then you are missing the opportunity to actually make a
really
difference.
good point.
Yeah. And as Kenan highlighted before, if trust is broken through that process and blame is created, then it has ramifications and it does have blowback impacts on things like your reporting culture and alike as well.
Yeah.